Hello everyone, I am Maria Fekila and I'm here to share with you the fairy tale that I wrote entitled The Princess Who Loved a Poor Guy. Once upon a time, in a kingdom not so very far away, there was a princess who fell in love with a pauper. The princess' feelings confused her. Why should she, a lady of such noble birth, love someone who sang in the streets for his supper? The confused princess locked herself in a tower and placed a dragon as guard in order to give her enough time to sort out her feelings. All day and all night, the princess just sat there thinking. She neither ate, nor drank, nor slept. She just sat there thinking to herself, how is it I should love a pauper? And then she'd shift arms to lean on. She just sat there and thought of the pauper, his brilliant smile, enchanting voice, tousled locks of auburn hair, and soulful brown eyes. She thought of how they first met when he first stole her heart. The princess walking the streets that day and saw him there, singing with his hat in the ground, containing a few coins. The princess stopped to listen, and when he finished, he dropped a large sum of money into the old, beat up, dirty cup. The tramp smiled, picked up his hat, and tied the contents into his palm, and then dumped it into his pocket, where he then replaced the cup atop his head, only to take it off once more to tip his hat at her own, politely saying, "Thank you, your highness." The princess had told him how much she loved his singing, which caused him to blush and very prettily say, "Thank you, your highness," once more. She had liked him so well, she asked him to come entertain at parties at the castle several times. Being a man of meager means, the Blue Bloods had invited him to eat at their table with them. The princess thought of all the rich fellows who frequented those parties. The one she should love, only didn't. The princess, the dukes, the sons of lords, sons of counts, and squires and knights. Those sort, she thought of them all. Some were quiet, snobbish. One of the dukes had been teasing the tramp about his beat-up cup, but the prince's father had put an end to it. Some of the princes acted like they were too good for the princess. The lords and counts' sons were too busy conversing among themselves to notice the princess, and let's face it, the knights and squares had horrible table manners. Yes, the princess realized that was more of a gentleman than they. With everyone else being too wrapped up in something else at these parties, the princess and the pauper sent to group together, while the other nobles disused money, finery, future plans, and the like. Princess and the pauper sat in the corner and talked of things that would have made the princess' mother have a conniption. The princess would listen intently and lean into every word the pauper would say as he told her stories of living on the streets. He spoke of both kindness and cruelty strangers. And one of the strange and beautiful things he had seen, the pauper said he loved his life. Though he lived in poverty and was hungry most of the time, he was free all the time. For that, the princess envied him. She, though, had everything she could ever want. Everything but freedom, she felt. When the pauper noticed her melancholy, he would press until she told him just what she was thinking. She decided a man who is poor in money is often rich in love. But sometimes a man rich in money thinks he has all he'll ever need. Not so with the pauper. Circumstance had given him a better understanding of the life in love. The princess smiled and laughed to think what a fool she had been. Sometimes the real prince is a pauper. So the princess unlocked the tower's door, spoke with her pet dragon, and sent him away. Then she put on a common maiden's clothes and went to the streets, where she found the pauper singing for his supper. She dropped a few coins into his hat. "Thank you, your highness," he said. She shook off her surprise. She couldn't believe he had recognized her. "I like you a lot," she said. "Would you please teach me your ways? You are a finer man than any rich brat I've ever known." The pauper smiled and took her by the hand, and they lived contented ever after in the streets, where in time the princess learned about life and love as the pauper had. 3 years passed, and the princess realized though she was happier living on the streets with her pauper, who had a princess soul, she was doing her country a great injustice and depriving it of an heir. With a forlorn glance at their beloved alleyways and street corners, the princess took the pauper by the hand, and together they walked back to the castle. All the blue bloods had mixed emotions at their return. They were happy to see the princess was alive, safe, and happy, but she was dirty, sun-tanned, and wore tattered clothes. Outraged the princess, the dukes, the sons of lords, sons of counts, and squires and knights returned to their homes. Secretly, all along they had been hoping to marry the princess and move up a rung on their ladder of nobility. The princess announced that she was ready to take her place on the throne and lead the people of her country. The king, queen, and court members argued that she had abandoned it all to live on the streets with her dearest love, the pauper. However, she countered and asked them all what they knew about their people. Living on the streets for 3 years, not much bad escaped the princess noticed, and she had seen everything that went on in the city. The royals, however, had them's eyesight and only read books and newspapers to try and see what life was like outside of castle walls. With the pauper at her side, the princess argued so fiercely that no one could disagree with her logic and everyone could see her sincerity. With time, her parents stepped down at the princess and the pauper became king and queen. They technically live in the place, but on occasion they would disguise themselves as paupers and sing on the street corners, beg for dinner, and sleep in gutters. But perhaps It was not disguise. They were sporting in those times. Perhaps they were just being their true selves. And so the pair of noble paupers ruled their country with a just understanding. That way, not only the lovers, but everyone involved lived happily ever after. Thank you.